Good morning, fellow panelists, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here today. Before I go into today's topic on knowing your rights as an investor, allow me to digress a little and thank everyone for participating in this year's FIMM Annual Convention event. I was thinking about the old normal, a time not so long ago where we could freely mingle. Our outfit of the day did not include wearing a face mask, and we can eat all we could at a buffet table, as well as not limit ourselves to just fist bumps, but actually shaking other people's hands. Sadly, I can't say that we can do that anytime soon, but what I can share is, surprisingly, despite this new normal, we actually have a remarkable turnout at this year's FIMMAC event. To date, more than 2,500 people have registered. And initially, I thought Zoom fatigue and the full car parks at One Utama would have limited us to just 300 people. So thank you very much for being here. Also, credit to all of you for tuning in to share and learn about the developments in the unit trust and private retirement schemes industry. Special thanks to my wonderful moderators and panelists, as well as the MC, who has brought new depth and dimension to the discussion topics. Together, we have certainly given a new reason to gluing ourselves to a monitor screen for 3 hours daily, besides doing online shopping or playing Valorant. Thanks again for being part of this history in the making. And now back to the order of the day, which is today, we will be talking about investors' rights. Can I have the next slide, please? So if you look at this slide, I think what I need to clarify upfront is that this topic is about unit holders' rights. It's not about the unit holder is always right, as in a customer is always right, but rather, what are the rights of a unit holder? So if we look into these rights, you will see that I've dissected it into 4 main segments. Information access, performance, call for unit holders meeting, and the reset button. So the first step for any investor into the unit trust space is via a prospectus or a product highlight sheet. So when someone comes and approach an investor to buy unit trust, you will always be given a prospectus. But unfortunately, what research has shown is that when you get a prospectus, most of the time people do not read it, or the first questions they ask relate to how much am I going to earn? When am I going to earn that? What am I going to earn? So it's always about returns, you know. But rarely do people actually flip to page 38 or page 57 of a prospectus to find out what their rights actually are. Okay, and here is where today we are going to take that opportunity to do a bit of 101 and go back into the source documents itself, as in the prospectus, to understand it. So the first thing I wanted to highlight to your attention is on information access. In today's society, unfortunately, what we see on social media is always gospel. And what we read on Facebook or Twitter or it's reshared many times is taken as gospel. But the truth is, there's nothing more gospel than the prospectus, because the content of the prospectus is regulatory required. And whatever that is printed there would be something that the law requires you to have. So when you look at the prospectus, the first thing that you should take note of in terms of your rights would be access to information. And that access to information extends to the units you hold, the right to receive annual interim and fund reports, which will tell you how the fund is performing, what the fund has bought, and what's the unrealized or realized losses or gains within the fund. And lastly, it also gives you the opportunity to inspect the register of unit holders, which people rarely do. So this information access thing is very important because it keeps you updated on your investments, and it gives you that necessary check and balance to go and find out more about your investments in the event there's any area of dispute or dissatisfaction. The next thing, in terms of your unit holders' rights, which is the most important thing I can think of, would be performance. When it comes to performance, obviously, you invest into something with this expectation of having a certain amount of returns. And by being a unit holder, you have the right to participate in any increase or decrease in the value of units, as well as other rights and privileges as per the deed. Say, for example, there are bonus units, there are unit splits, and so on. And of course, you will be entitled to receive an income distribution as well. The third thing that most of us don't usually exercise would be the opportunity to call for a unit holders meeting. Let's say, for example, you are not satisfied, and of course, this must be statistically and factually backed up, that the trustee or the manager needs to be removed based on reasons highlighted in the deed and prospectus. Then the unit holders themselves can call for a special resolution, attend it, and vote on it. Okay? And lastly, in terms of unit holders' right, the ultimate right that all unit holders have, especially first-time investor, is the right for cooling off period. I would like to think of this as a control alternate delete button, whereby you can actually press it and undo it within the 6 business days that you have invested into a unit trust fund. And in pop culture reference, you can think of this like what Doctor Strange did in Endgame, where he just goes back in time and undo things. So, unlike any other investments that you have outside there, if you are a first-time investor into a unit trust scheme, you have that opportunity within 6 business days to decide otherwise, and get back whatever you have paid. So these are very important rights as a unit holder that you should be aware about. Can I have the next slide, please? Okay, so does it mean that if you now know your rights, you have gone into the right investment? My answer is not necessarily so. And later I'll get my panelists to also share more about this. So in a nutshell, knowing your investors' rights doesn't guarantee you the right investment. As I've seen in the past that issues such as greed or betrayal of trust may result in you buying the wrong investment. But what's important here is at least you know your rights so that you know how to unwind it or how to make sure that you still get the better out of your investment. Can I have the next slide, please? So what is right then? Okay, I think fortunately for me today, what is right is that I have the right people, the right panel to talk about today's topic. So can I have the next slide, please? So joining me today is 3 wonderful panelists, and I would dare call them friends because in my last 20 plus years in the industry, I have had that opportunity to deal with them in various capacities. And I feel that these 3 people are definitely the right people to share with you their kisah benas about upholding investors' rights. Let me give you a bit of introduction on our panel today. So, cumulatively, they have got more than 70 years of industry knowledge, despite their youthful looks. I've also had the fortunate and unfortunate experiences of interacting with them in my present and past employments, where they have clearly showed me that they really understand the business, as well as they do mean business. So in Puan Noraini, she is the Chief Executive Officer of Hong Leong Islamic Asset Management. Throughout her distinguished career, she has covered front, middle, and back office of a fund management company, which gives her that 360 degrees coverage on every aspect of the business. In Ms. Chan Ai Mei, she is the Chief Marketing and Distribution Officer of Affin Hwang Asset Management Berhad. I have had the honor of being her trustee before, and all I can say is that she has vast experience in marketing and promoting unit trust funds, and definitely has sold more unit trust funds than the number of players on Squid Game. So before this session started, I even double-checked that with her. And in her career, she has actually sold more than 600 over unit trust funds, Okay, so this gives her the right to share with you the kisah benas that has happened when selling, before selling, and even after selling a unit trust fund. And lastly, to save the best, not to say the best, to save the tulip among the roses today, we have got Mr. Jawahar. He is the Deputy General Manager in the Consumer and Investor Office at the Securities Commission Malaysia. We owe a big thanks to Jawahar and his team as they make the capital market a safer place for investors by addressing aggrieved investors' complaints. So if you think you have heard a lot of complaints or you have complained a lot in your life, you must hear from Jawahar, because this man knows everything there is to know about complaints. So now that I've introduced the team, I would like to start the ball rolling with the first question for discussion. But before that, I would also like to remind the audience and the panelists that we want to keep this session fluid and interactive. So please submit your questions via Slido, and I will do my best to have as many of them answered by the panel today. In the event we are unable to do so, you can drop us an email at info@fimm.com.my. I repeat, info@fimm.com.my, and we will attend to it expeditiously. So I'll start the ball rolling, and I'll post this question to the panel now. So from your experiences, do investors even bother to ask or check on their rights? If not, is it the duty of the consultant, the unit trust company, or the PRS provider to reiterate this? Maybe I'll start off with Ms. Aini first to share with us her experience whether investors do check on their rights. So over to you, Aini.
Hi, thank you, Kaleon, and a very good morning to everyone. Yes, I think it is the duty of the consultant, unit trust and PRS consultants to reiterate the rights of investors. And if you look at the FIMM Code of Ethics, right, actually consultants are really bounded by a set of 5 core principles. And these principles includes honesty and integrity, professionalism, avoidance of conflict of interest, disclosure of information, and also observance of confidentiality. So disclosure of information is what was mentioned by Kaleon earlier on. I think, the rights of investors, they need to know that they can have access, okay, to all the reports, okay. And maybe I can also share screen over here just to share with you, like, for example, how do you extract certain reports from our website. For example, this is Affin Hwang Asset Management's website, and I've just taken an example of a fund. So what you can do is you can go to documents, and you can see there's information memorandum, and sometimes there are additional supplemental information memorandum, or an product highlight sheet, fund fact sheets, and then sometimes they come in multilingual as well. You have annual reports, quarterly reports, and there are even brochures available for investors to access and to know what they are getting themselves into. So I think it's, all this information are there for investors to access. And then I think on top of that as well, for a unit trust management company, as a fund house, we also do callbacks as well. Sometimes, to clients that have just invested with us, just to reiterate and check whether a consultant has done their duty to, inform the investor about fees and charges that were charged to them when they invest, and also whether a prospectus of information memorandum or product highlight sheet was given to the client as well, and also whether this consultant is an authorized consultant as well. So I think, these are some of the things that are being practiced by us. Yeah, thank you, Kaleon.
Thank you, Aini. That was very clearly explained. What about Noraini? From your past experiences in all fronts in the fund management side, do you think that investors actually care about their rights?
Okay. Assalamualaikum and good morning to everyone. Thank you, Kaleon, for this session. Now, basically, to me, is when you talk about investors' rights, right? It can be 1 hour list of investors' rights. the rights they need to know, the rights they need to observe, the rights they need to ask. Now, to echo what you said in your earlier, the phrase that you used, customer is always right. Now, we in Leong stand true to this phrase. Okay, to us, customer is always right, and it's always in the best interest of the customer or the investor that when we operate and we produce returns and also the services. Now, however, I wish to emphasize there are instances when the customer is not always right because the information that they require to be right was not given or not asked by the customer or the investor. Now, for me is like Aini and yourself, I think even Jawahar will mention that we have tons of documents that we are required to produce for SC approval, for FIMM to review the facts in this document and all that. However, I think in the past, most of these documents are hard copy. And hard copy, when you give someone a prospectus, they will tend to think that, okay, this is for my bedside reading. If I can't sleep, I take my prospectus and read, on what investment I want to do. I do not, as I say, and as you mentioned in the prospectus, there are lists of rights that the investors must look at. I just want to pick up three that is shown in our prospectus. One is investors are advised to read and understand the content of the prospectus, right? Two, read information concerning certain risk factors which should be considered by prospective investors. Three, in doubt, please consult your professional advisor. An additional important statement is this. Investors should note that they may seek recourse under the Capital Market and Services Act for breaches of securities law, including any false or misleading statement in the prospectus or any document that is produced by the fund managers or the unit trust manager. Now, to me, it's a simple, it's a simple advice that we are giving investors, and it is a mandatory made by regulators like Securities Commission and even SRO like FIMM, that the consultant, when they approach any investor, whether it is a savvy investor or a new investor, a prospectus must be given. And with the digital landscape now, you don't like hard copy, and like Aini have pointed out, you go to any fund manager website, you have all these documents available to you, either on your iPad, on your PC, or even on your mobile. So how can we help investors to understand that they have ample rights and they have avenues to take recourse if their rights are not given? So that's from me on the question that you have posted, Kaleon, this morning.
Thanks, Aini. Before I pass this to Jawahar, I want to just digress a bit on your point about digital influencers. Okay, I remember about 20 years ago when I was working as a desk officer in the SC, and my job was to review prospectuses. And those days, when I had to review prospectuses, it was such a chore. Before I had to look at the prospectus, I make sure that I go and buy myself a very good snack and a drink so that my next 2 hours is basically about reading the whole prospectus. And I myself, because I was paid to do such a job, I found that it's not a very exciting thing. And when we had to move on towards allowing people to invest via other new methods, like for example, even there were proposals that came in to invest via an ATM machine. So I used to question those people, and I said that even when we sit down at our home, or like you said, bedside reading of a prospectus, we also find it such a tedious task. What more if you ask people to go and queue up in the ATM machine there just to read a prospectus? I can imagine the lines are super clear. So what I've seen evolve in the last 20 years is that the prospectuses are more abridged, they are more user-friendly, you have product highlight sheets now, they have more pictures, okay? And with today's generation, I think the attention span, we must all agree, even ourselves also, our attention span is more shorter. We don't have the luxury of time to go and spend 20 minutes on a document. If anything, we cannot scroll down, we may not even touch it. Okay, so here is where I need Jawahar to share with me then what can be done then to get people to be more excited to understand their rights, which is actually good for them. So over to you, Jawahar.
Hi, Kaleon. Thank you so much for that. I think, yeah, you have aptly said that, I mean, the prospectus is really not the most exciting piece of document for one to read. But nonetheless, you see, it is essential. And again, like how you rightfully pointed out, there are so many, what we call simplified version of the prospectus and the disclosure documents, where one can get a more simplified information. I think that a lot of, based on the complaints and information inquiries that the Securities Commission receive, I think that some of the things that I would like to just point out is that it appears to be a rush for the investor to be quickly directed towards the what do you call the returns. They say, okay, the pitch is always that, oh, I put in this much and I'll get it this much, within X number of years and so on and so forth. But I think that one has to realize that, that not every investment or every product is suitable for everyone. Depending on your horizon, what's your investment and what's your risk appetite and whatnot. And all those things have to be understood before an informed investment decision can be made. Now, if I can just share some of the, from the vantage of the Securities Commission, I've got some very short presentation here. From the vantage of the Securities Commission, what we see based on the complaints and inquiries that we receive. Next. Now, this is just, again, as I've said, this is not to say that, all these unit trust consultants are bad apples and whatnot, but there are some precautions that if the investor takes, you can protect yourself. Now, this is some very statistics that we have received against registered person, which is specifically on UTCs, unit trust consultant, PRS consultants, ITAS and the QTAS. You see, on 2019, we received about 24, in 2020, about 20, and in 2021, about 12. And what are the types of complaints that we receive? We have received what we call complaints on misappropriation of clients' funds. I'll go into a bit more detail on how this would happen slightly shortly. And there are also complaints on forgery of documents. That means that some of the redemption forms are signed off by unauthorized people and whatnot. Fake qualification, unauthorized transactions, this certificate is a lot, and also mis-selling. Again, mis-selling is one of the areas that would be of concern, whereby overpromise of funds performance or selling of a particular product which does not match the risk profile of a particular investor. Next. Now, I'll just give you a bit of a case study. As I've said, in order for the investor's right to be protected, you have to make sure that you shield yourself from falling victim to scams or unscrupulous parties. Just as case study here, based on this is a true life event, but of course I've changed the name for due to confidentiality. A victim was introduced to an agent A by a friend, and this particular agent represented himself to be a UTC and a PRS consultant with as I say, this is a made-up name, a rich mutual Berhad, and then the victim was recommended to invest in a UTC offered by this entity, and the victim was promised guaranteed dividend of 20% per annum. This is again, as I've said, one I would call a red flag. Victim was not allowed, and then he said that you must not allow this investment for the next 3 years. You see, yeah. Although yes, I think it's understood that when we invest in a unit trust product and whatnot, you're not expected to receive an instant return, or or return in a very short span of time. But this kind of specification that you're not allowed to withdraw in the next 3 years is again one more red flag. And this one, I'm going to repeat this a few times, because I feel that if this one message, if I can get across to the investors, I think most of the what you call scams or could be eradicated. So what the complainant did was he handed over money to agent A via cash. That means the investor handed over cash and transferred money to the agent's personal bank account. Now, this is where I think the whole thing would go wrong when the investor transfers the money, or gives cash or transfers the money into an agent's personal bank account. And the victim was also asked to sign some pre-signed redemption forms for future redemption. The price is right, and then the victim was also asked to change the address in the application form to agent A. This is apparently to ease agent A to monitor the fund's performance on the victim's behalf and whatnot. So can you see here? So in this one case study alone, we can pick up a few things that the victim ought not have done. And then months later, he did not receive the promised return, and then the agent A is no longer contactable. And then when he checked with the with Reach Mutual Berhad, there was no any investment record of the victim. And then later it was found out that agent A's registration with FIMM has been terminated 2 years ago. That means he used to be a unit trust agent, but his service has since been terminated. This is just one example. Like I said, we have many other examples of things. So, but from here, what we can, some of the messages that we can take home next is that from the as I mentioned just now, from that one case alone, if there's any messages, you have to check the registration status of your consultant at state website. Say, for example, if a consultant comes to you and say, I am a unit trust consultant, you can always check if it's available on FIMM's website. At a click of a mouse, you can check whether that particular consultant is still registered. And of course, I think this has been said many times. I think it needs but it still needs a re-emphasis that you need to read and understand the prospectus to know the funds that you are investing in, and do not pre-sign any redemption form, and do not give cash or bank in money into the agent's personal bank account. Always make sure that you receive your statements from the company in your name. Don't and do not authorize. Don't give everything to the agents. For example, you can change the address. You can receive the statements and so on and so forth. And of course, if in doubt, please contact FIMM or the SC. Next. Now, I feel obliged from a regulator's point of view, not only to talk about the rights of investor pursuant to a unit trust scheme alone, but broadly, because I think that of late, of this past 2 years, the Securities Commission has been receiving an escalated number of complaints with respect to scams and unlicensed activity. Therefore, we feel obliged to advise the public we have drawn up 7 simple steps to avoid investment scams. Like I said, this is not just for unit trust, but this cuts across for any investments that you would like to make. Be cautious of any investments offered by social media platforms, because we realize that of late there's been many scams that has been offered through social media platforms, notably through Facebook ad, where you click on the Facebook ad, you will be then taken to a WhatsApp conversation with a scammer, who will then promote his or her investment product. Non-existent illegal investment product, if I may add. What we've noticed is that there's been a lot of clone firm scams as well. So even if someone comes and through you meet someone on social media and and someone says, hey, look, I'm from this entity, or I'm from a public mutual, Hwang, or whatever, but make sure that you check with the company whether such a product exists, because we notice there are a lot of clone firms where they pretend or they impersonate a legitimate entity to perpetrate the scams. And again, I said, I did say, I'll repeat this a few times, never deposit your money into anyone's personal bank accounts, and payment should only be made into official bank accounts of company what they call intermediaries authorized by the SCs. And just to highlight that the Securities Commission on its website has a investor alert list. So we do list very regularly entities or individuals whom we have information that they are carrying out an unlicensed activity, and release them. So if you come across an offer for investment by anyone, you can check that first, and if if the name is there, then it's already should not deal with that particular person or entity. And of course, always deal with authorized companies. And there is a very useful portal by PDRM, police. It's called the FIMMAC Mule portal, where if assuming that you have been asked to transfer an amount of money for the purposes of investment into a bank account, you can enter the bank account into the FIMMAC Mule portal to ascertain whether there has been a police report lodged with respect to that particular bank account for possible scam. Likewise, telephone number as well. If you were to receive an offer for investment, as I mentioned just now, through WhatsApp or whatever, you can check the phone number in the police's FIMMAC Mule portal to determine whether there's been any police report lodged with respect to that particular for the telephone number for possible scam. And if again, since I'm representing the commission, if in doubt, you can contact. Of course, you can contact FIMM, but of course, you can also directly contact the SC at the email of adwan@secom.com.my, or you can call our hotline at 0362 048 and we have we believe that prevention is better than go after the culprits after a crime has been committed. So therefore, informed investor is a protected investor. So you can go to our website. We have our InvestSmart website, where you can go and obtain a lot of useful information there. So this is, as I mentioned just now, from the Securities Commission's perspective, these are some of the things that we notice. And if the investors can take some of these measures, you can ensure that you will be protected from falling victim to scams. Over to you, Kaleon.
Thanks, Jawahar. If I can just reiterate your one point, which you will also be reiterating later, is never give cash to your consultants.
Definitely.
At FIMM, when we look at the number of cases and complaints that have come in, although it's on a declining trend, but these things still happen, where investors still trust or blindly trust people and start giving out cash. And here is where the complication comes up, because sometimes it's also very hard to prove when we investigate that complaint, because there's no digital or deed trail for people to prove that you actually gave cash to someone. So these things, you want to add something, Jawahar?
Yeah, I mean, not just that, we would not even be, if a cash was given, you would not even know whether that particular sum of money was actually handed over for the purposes of an investment. We wouldn't know, you see. So, I mean, you're right. It's very difficult for us to establish the nexus of the sum that has been deposited to a purported investment.
Sure. No, that's a very good point. And another good point you brought up is about verifying the identity of the consultant.
Yeah.
Okay, and this nicely dovetails into our first question on Slido that we have received from Mr. or Miss LKS. So Mr. or Miss LKS, congratulations. You have just won yourself the first invitation to FIMMAC 2022. Please get in touch with my team at info@fimm.com.my. Just drop them an email and we will personally send you an invitation to next year's event. So he or she has asked this wonderful question. I understand that from 2022, I will also need to verify the identity of the agent myself, as they no longer carry the FIMM authorization card. Why is this so? Okay, I think I have to answer this because I work at FIMM. So there's a bit of history to this. Way back in 2018, FIMM conducted a mystery shopping exercise. And from that mystery shopping exercise, we realized that not all consultants display their card, And even if they display their card, in today's world where you want to go to the photostat machine or get a good scanner, you can print out a card of your own. So the amount of forgery also can happen. And we felt that going through this digital route would be the best way, whereby if a consultant approaches you, you can just go to FIMM's website, which is updated daily, to check whether this person is really a bona fide consultant. And from there is that added check and balance where we will confirm whether he or she is registered with us. And this will at least give you that comfort that you're dealing with a bona fide consultant. Because we do have cases where people are not consultants, okay, and they act as representative or they act as trainees or interns or whatever. But these people are not properly trained and registered with FIMM or even by their unit trust management company. So as a result, the advice that they give you may not be accurate, may not be trained, and you may be misled into investing into something which is not correct for you. So that's why we have moved on that approach. And this road towards digitalization, as my chairman has mentioned in his opening day speech, is something necessary. We have been trying to go digital on many fronts, but this pandemic has accelerated it. And when we look at the progress and development that has been done by our members, all the unit trust companies, the distributors, you can see leaps and bounds. The good thing during this entire 20 months of this pandemic is that we have yet to receive a complaint that by an investor that they cannot redeem their investments, or they cannot invest, or they cannot switch. So I think that's a good sign that operationally things are working. Now it's just to make sure that the information flow is also perfect so that you get both aspects of it, So that's the first question. Maybe now let's move on to the next question that I have, which I would like to pose to Puan Aini and Ms. Aimee. Okay, if an investor know their rights or about to know their rights, how do you then ensure they move to the right investment? So maybe Aini, you want to take up this question first?
Okay, thanks, Kaleon. Okay, so first of all, I think for investor to move from investor rights into the right investment, I think that is definitely achievable. And that is the main role of our consultants to help our investors to pick up the right investment for themselves. Now, basically, there are three types of investor, right? And consultants need to identify this whenever they meet a customer. You have a pre-investor. A pre-investor is someone who has never invested in anything, only hear about investment glory story, and spend and doesn't know even to the point of what to ask for the right investment for themselves. Now, this is pre-investor. Passive investor is a set of investors who work hard to save money for investment. However, they spend less time making money work for them. They entirely depend on the advice of the consultant when to move into investment, when to move out of investment, when to switch investment depending on the market cycle. Now, you have another set of active investor. Now, to me, is this active investor, they are as good as you and myself, Kaleon, because this is a set of investors that review investment based like running a business. Their achievement is to make sure that whatever they invest make money. How long their vision or terms in investment, that is depending on the market cycle. I mean, and depending on the market cycle, depending on what they want to achieve, what they aim to. If today they aim to buy a LV bag, so they want to make money, within 6 months to get the new LV bag that is on the shelf in the shopping mart and all that. Now, to me, is to know this type of investor is the role of our consultant. They have been trained to see these three type of investor and give the right guidance and give the proper documents for them to read and understand. Basically to me is sorry about that. They tend to delegate like the pre-investor and also passive investor. They tend to delegate their investment decision to the consultant. I think like Jawahar mentioned, we have seen this in the past. To ask an investor to sign a document every now and then, depending on the market cycle around that, it's a big hassle. And sometimes investors stay so far. So what do consultants do? They ask to pre-sign subscription form, pre-sign switching form, pre-sign your redemption form. So they make the decision on the on behalf of the investor. Now, for me is if the investors know which category they fall under, whether they are pre-investor, passive or active, then they need to know their risk limitation, right? And investment return expectation. I can tell you that in my 30 over years, fund managers who have worked with me, to us is we always want positive return. And whenever there's a month that I do a valuation and all of a sudden the market change and all the return goes down, whenever I hand a valuation report to all the fund managers, they give this remark: when Aini smile, that means we didn't perform. Because the question is, when they didn't perform, they will actually drill down to their investment and look what has gone wrong. Where have they not actively participated to make sure that the investor investment is really met in the return that the fund is supposed to look to provide, right? So to me is, even from operation perspective, we know investors have rights to look at return, and we in the operation, what we know is that when the performance is down, the fund manager will actually look very detailed into all the valuation report and to ensure that our pricing is correct. Because these are areas that we sometimes helps to make awareness to the fund managers that it's not only internally that is looking at how you perform for the right investment, but we are also telling you that if we internally can tell you, this report will be looked at for every move and return to spot where it has gone wrong. You imagine how an investor should be looking at the report. Unfortunately, to me is, as you mentioned, there's not enough question being asked by investor. I'd like to bring this topic up. As you know, we have our state retirement fund, who allows members investment scheme, members to invest in unit trust fund. And both the state fund and together with FIMM, I think they have put in few years ago a setting of return that needs to be performed to meet for their members, for their members' retirement planning. However, one question that I always wanted to ask: does the investor even ask the consultant, are some of their investment being suspended fund by the retirement fund? Right? So this kind of question, this kind of information, I think the consultant have a fiduciary duty to inform their investors that say, your investment, I have now reached this level and this fund has now been suspended. You can no longer do a top up for this fund to do average costing. You can't, the only way for you to proceed with your future retirement plan is for you to redeem, or you can switch to another better fund. So these are simple things for that I think investors should share, and this information is already shared in in EPF digital platform. And to me is, if we all contribute to all this, then we will see a healthier investment, and we make sure that our investors go into the right investment for their wealth management planning and also for their retirement, right? That's how I see it.
Thanks, Aini. Since you mentioned it, I think I noticed you smiled a few times today. So I guess you're performing today. So that's a good sign. But let me just get Ms. Chan's view in terms of how to move people from knowing their rights to the right investment. So over to you, Aini.
Thanks, Kaleon. All right, I think you will notice that there is just truckloads of products out there in the market. Like what you mentioned, I've been exposed to maybe 500-600 over my experience marketing unit trust funds. So it can be quite confusing for a lot of investors and sometimes I think investors are tempted when they see that a certain theme, certain type of funds, certain type of styles have performed very well, and the next thing they'll do is they just jump in. Okay, whether it's suitable for them or not, it's secondary. Okay, because they want to grab the returns. This has happened even to my very own husband. Okay, what happened was I think interest rates has been very low over the past year. So he had some money in his fixed deposits, and then he said, "Yeah, I'm only getting 1%." So he also wanted to chase. Okay, and then when he saw markets doing so well and then certain funds doing 20, 30%, 40% return, I think every investor also be very tempted to just jump in, okay, thinking that this is the right investment for them. Okay, but my husband is a very conservative investor. So when the market turned and went the other way around, he couldn't take it, and then he couldn't sleep every night, worrying about his investments. So I did warn him about it. But earlier on, like human nature, sometimes they just want to grab the returns, but they do not think so much about the downside. Okay, whatever goes up can also come down, and you must know the risk that you're taking when you invest in a particular fund, okay, or investment products. So I think a best performing fund is never the gauge for you to jump in, to be the right investment for you, because best performing this year, next year could be bottom performing. Okay, so what's important is you need to know what are the products that are suitable for you based on your risk profile. So knowing your clients, their risk capacity, risk tolerance, as well as risk appetite. Can they stomach the up and down or not? Can they take the volatility 20, 30, 40%? Not only up, up of course everybody can take, but down, can you stomach it or not? If you cannot sleep, then it's not suitable for you. Okay, so I think that should be the approach that we take. So in my husband's case, I told him, never mind, the investment is under my name. I can take the risk appetite. Okay, I can take the volatility, but he cannot. So I say, in future, your money sits in fixed deposit. So I think, so it's very much that way, otherwise, you can't sleep at night, when it's not the right investment for you, you just, it just spoils your mood, and then, it causes a lot of trouble in your life as well.
Thank you, Aini. Thanks for sharing that, Kisah Benar. I think two main offenses that your husband has committed is, number one, he didn't consult a proper consultant. Number two, he didn't listen to his wife, which is the biggest cardinal sin. Okay, and if given the opportunity, I think your husband should talk to Dr. Tan, because in the second day session, he actually told people about, we're looking at savings and investing their money and so on. So we all learn something from this. But
if I can, just from what Aini has said, if I can just add one more thing, is that what that she has explained demonstrates is that every product has got its risks, you see. So if, again, from my vantage, if someone were to come and tell you that, look, you know, this is a particular product where it's a guaranteed return of 20%, 30%, that is a sign of the product not being, you know, possibly not being legitimate. So while, you share your husband's pain of him, suffering a loss and whatnot, that in itself is a lesson to say that, yeah, actually there are risks involved in any investment. There's no such thing as a risk-free investment, and once we understand that, we can also protect ourselves from being a more savvy investor.
Thanks, Jawahar. Since I still got you there, I think let's answer one of the questions for Mr. or Miss Anonymous, the most common person who's contributing to all our questions these last few days. So the question says that, will FIMM or SC be conducting investors education for the young, especially in the schools? I'll answer for FIMM and then I'll pass it over to you to answer for SC. So my answer is yes, and that is definitely an area that our industry education team wants to do more. Even now, for this FIMMAC, we're trying to reach out to the schools. We're trying to entice them to learn more about this. We understand that this gig economy offers many opportunities. So if you think that you want to go into the financial aspects of the gig economy, whereby you want to be a unit trust consultant and advisor and eventually move up the ladder in this financial planning realm, definitely this is an area. So my only advice is, write to us. Just let us know where is your school. If you can have at least 20 people there, we can do virtually, or when the endemic happens, my team can go over. We are more than happy to drop by your school. So just send us an email at info@fimm.com.my. So over to you, Jawahar. So will SC be conducting investor education for
Well, yeah, I think when we talk about investor education, we have to, of course, not be very mindful of the young ones. See, they are actually a very important segment of the population, because these are the ones, especially the university students and the secondary school students and whatnot. They will be out there in the work market, and they will be these are the potential investors. It's very important for us to impart some fundamental knowledge on investing and whatnot. Yes, it is actually one of the things that we'll be looking at, Kaleon.
Thanks.
May I just add on? I think the topic that you mentioned and also Jawahar mentioned, for me is we must look at this so-called the young ones, the millennial or those in the school. I mean, most of the time when we say, okay, you should target for the young who just started working in their mid-20s and all that. And some of the feedback we see is that, they don't have enough fund, they don't have enough money or enough saving in ETF, to start investing. I think that is a wrong perception that I think industry is looking at. I think most of us, we are the working parents, right? We come to this stage. I think there are a lot more of working parents who work to save for the children, right? And what I see is that when they started working, all of a sudden you see this influx of young investors coming in. Now the question is, where do they get the money? To me, is we must look from the perspective of wealth transition, where the parents start transferring some of the saving for the youngster to go into the market, and this have happened when we ask some of our fresh graduate that comes in to work with us, and they start investing in unit trust. So we ask, your salary is still not enough to contribute, or ETF not enough to contribute for investment. Then they say that no, because I'm not in this industry, my mother and my father actually have given me some money for me to invest on their behalf. So that also is another area, that the young ones have to look at and understand from preschool, like secondary or in their uni, that what investment is all about. Because to me, investment equate to saving. Right, so I can share you one kisah benar, and I think when I go home, he's sure going to be very angry with me. My son started to also invest in unit trust, right? And every day he come around and tell me, Ma, Mom, your fund, how come so small, the profit, you know? And why is it that sometimes it's up and sometimes it's down, you know? And to me is, based on your small amount that you invested, what is your expectation? I said, right? This is a long-term investment and this is unit trust. And unit trust means it's a long-term and gradual profit that you will make. However, if you want to compare to, what other alternative investment that your friends are going in, like cryptocurrency, Bitcoin and all that. So I said, can you lose your 1,000 today, tomorrow or not? Then he keep silent. So so he said, okay, I trust you. You tell me when I can redeem. So these are the perception of the young ones when it comes to investment. So I think the question posted by the anonymous, I think it's timely for not only the regulators, SRO, in fact for Hong Leong, and also I'm sure for in Aini's case and other of our peers in the industry, we are focusing on investor education, not only for the savvy investor, but we are also collaborating with certain unis, to give talk, to share with them how do you read documents, performance document, how do you read fund fact sheet and all that. So and since day one you know me, and also in my participation in many of FIMM discussion. I think investor education with digitalization is the top of the list, because if you don't put it there, then like you say, how do you move investors right to right investment? It all comes in education. That's all from me.
So the moral of the story that I'm learning from your Kisah Benar and Aime's Kisah Benar is, if you work in a unit trust company, don't sell it to your loved ones. There is more pressure pleasing them than normal investors.
Exactly, Kaleon.
Okay, so I'll take that note. Okay. Now I just want to move to one of the questions posed on Slido, and I would like to get Aime to help me on this. So again, Anonymous asks, who should initiate the transfer? If you were to transfer unit trust from, say, company A to company B, assuming that the consultant has moved from company A to company B. So I mean, how do we do it? If the consultant has moved to another company, how does that initial investment goes?
This is from a client perspective the client perspective, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Investors perspective. Okay. Meaning to say, previously the investments were in one particular fund house, and now he wants to transfer it to, is it?
No, I think how
the same fund house, but with.
Assuming that you had a consultant, the consultant was with Affin Hwang, and now it has moved to Aini's side, which is Hong Leong. Okay, so the consultant changed companies.
I see. Okay.
From your side and join Aini's side. What about the customer?
So that will not really be a transfer in that sense, because transfer means you're transferring the same fund from Affin Hwang to another IUTA or another platform. That would actually be more of like a redemption, is it? And then subscription again. Like, for example, if you invested in Affin Hwang Asset Management Funds, and then now you want to invest in Hong Leong, so it will actually be a redemption and then subscription again in Hong Leong Asset Management Funds. So so I'm not quite sure what it means by transfer. Well, okay, transfer, if you want to transfer your funds, Affin Hwang funds that you have, let's say with one bank, Citibank, and then you want to transfer it to holdings in, let's say, Standard Chartered Bank. So for that, I think you can do a transfer initiated at that particular bank that you hold the units with. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Maybe may I just add? I think that's a very good question. I think the question they're asking is, let's say moving out, they buy Affin fund through an agent from Affin, a consultant, and now the consultant have moved to Hong Leong Asset, right? And the investor is thinking of moving also their investment to Hong Leong Asset. to me is this is the topic that we are on now. First of all, the investment was made based on the fund, or investment was made based on the trust with the consultant. That is the question the investor must ask. If the investor make the investment based on the fund, and the fund is performing well, and the consultant have now moved to another fund house, why should the investor move or transfer their investment to another fund house? So it comes again on moving towards investor rights and investor and the right investment. Because to me is unless the consultant has given a very good advice for the investor to say that we believe that the new funds, that funds in the other new fund house can perform better for you, right? And also to add on what Aini has mentioned, you mentioned about cooling off. So the cooling off for this investor with Affin can be performed during at the initial stage, but when they redeem and they move to another fund house, and I think the cooling off start again because the first time they are investing in that fund house. So these are the rights and of the rights and the obligation from investor point and also from consultant point, that they must provide enough information for the investor to consider. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I may, because whenever a consultant leaves another from an outfit, the fund or the management of the investor's interest is managed by the company, right? So the company will also have a say to approach this investor and give the right advice. I mean, that's how I see it.
Thanks, Aini, and thanks, Ameer. So if I may summarize it, at the end of the day, you bought the fund in the first place based on the fund's performance, which is generated by the fund manager, not the consultant. The consultant has just come in to help you facilitate the transaction. So it doesn't mean that if a consultant changes company, you should change company also lah. You should actually give it some thought lah. What was your initial reason to go into it? But Aini also brought up a very interesting point, because there could be situations where you have bought from a distributor itself lah, and there's always an option of switching within that panel of funds that the distributor offer. My only suggestion here is this: if before you keep moving from fund to fund, be aware of the fees and charges that are involved, because shifting from different houses may result in you incurring new fees upfront. Okay, if you were to switch, sometimes you don't even have to pay any fees. So please go and find out a bit on the fees and charges, find out a bit on your actual performance before you move. We're getting a lot more questions that's coming in. Let me try to address as many as we can here. And like I've promised earlier, those that we are unable to address, please drop us a mail. We will follow through on it. Okay, the next one is on, shouldn't consultants be trained first to explain to prospective clients their rights and how to detect if the consultant is indeed bona fide? So there are two questions here. I'll answer the last one first, and then I'll pass the training bit to Aini and Aimee to elaborate a bit on the type of training that they give consultants. So the last part of this question is on if the consultant is indeed bona fide, which I go back to our earlier answer, where we have moved on that digital verification route. So now, you are not only checking with the consultant himself or herself whether they are bona fide, you're checking it through a website managed by FIMM. Okay, we are the SRO for marketing and distribution of unit trust and PRS. And if that person's name appears on our website and it says that the person is still registered, then the person is bona fide. Okay, so here I want to pass it back to Aimee first, to maybe share a bit about this bona fide issue and also the type of training and the hours, the quantity, the quality of training that you give to your consultants. So over to you, Aimee.
Okay, sure. I think just to echo what Kaleon said, maybe if I can just share screen, I think over here you can see fimm.com.my's website. And how to verify whether your consultant is authorized or not, you go under investor protection. Is my consultant authorized? So when you go into this site, you can quickly see just 3 fields that is needed lah. I mean, if you know your consultant's IC number, then good lah, you can key in, but I think not many people know the consultant's IC number. So let's say you key my name, Chan Aini, okay? You can just key in the name and put search here. Okay, you don't need to put in the FIMM number, because you wouldn't know what the FIMM number is, nor would you know my IC number lah, okay? So from here, then you can see that UTC search result, it came out here. Chan Aini is registered with Affin Hwang Asset Management, and I'm a member of with FIMM since September 1999. Right, and expiry is a yearly expiry, so until end of this year, and then we'll renew again. And the renewal is based on your requirement meeting the CPD points that is required, continuous education, and making sure that you continue to keep yourself abreast with all the latest news and as a UTC consultant. And also you can also check on their private retirement scheme license as well. So I also have it here where you can see also registered since October of 2012 over here. So here it's, you can even take a look further down if you want. If the name does not appear and you try to find the consultant's name, you can even click here, PRS consultant download or unit trust consultant, and when you key in download, it will give you the entire list of 60,000 consultants that are in Malaysia registered with the Federation of Investment Managers, okay, FIMM. All right, so I think it's a great job done by Kaleon and team. So you can see over here all the names of the consultant, which firm they are attached to, okay, Affin Bank or so on and so forth. All right, so that is what FIMM have done, and I think it's a great job that they have put this up together. Then it makes checking your legitimacy of the consultant very simple. Okay, and then I think in terms of the type of training that we give to our consultants, yes, that is one of the because we do have quite a number of consultants that services high net worth, public sector, insti and corporates and all. But for the agency partner, the consultant side, the trainings are a lot more intensive lah. And I think they go through probably 1 to 2 months of training, and then on top of that, continuous education and training, because we also have a chief learning officer. I think some of you might know Steve, who heads up our learning division, and they work very closely with the partnership business team that actually organizes and ensure training is conducted very regularly lah. And anytime when there's any scam, potential scam or fraud, it will also be shared with the consultants, and then we have a lot of this case Berhad that we will share with the consultants and make sure that they they are aware of all these things. So I think that is what we do lah, to add value also to our consultants, to make sure that they are aware of the things that they must do and the things that they shouldn't do. Yep.
Thank you, Aimee. Thank you for endorsing FIMM as well. Aini, maybe you want to add on a bit on that, on the training that your site provides to consultants?
Okay, I think as what Aini has mentioned, we are required by Securities Commission, required by even FIMM to conduct training for our agents. There is a certain numbers of hours that agents have to acquire in a year to renew their license. But for us is as fund managers or unit trust managers, the 16 CPD hour is not sufficient. Right, and the topics that we cover is not only on fund performance, how do you read a fund fact sheet. There are also mandatory training that we provide. For example, the code of ethics of being an agent, the requirements of the regulator, and moving into digital platform. What are the requirements for them? The ethics things that they now have to change, the process of changes that they must inform the investors, the rights of the investor to invest on their own on digital platform, because the consultants are no longer submitting form for them. And to be honest, I think my hats off to you, Kaleon and team, because if I were, the difference between the FIMM website now in providing information, learning, magazine, kisah benar, or updates on what's happening with the regulation, digitalization. So to us, it is not only for the investor. These are also given to bring our consultant to a different level. Now, I think the question posted to us is, we have to train our consultant. To us is, we have trained them enough. It's not only us, it is also the regulators, it is also, global industry players. We have given a lot of information, because with digital, learning is endless. Until you switch off your PC, the consultant will always have time and opportunity to learn. How they transfer the learning to the investor for investor interest, this is something that we are, again, this topic bring about. What are the questions, what are the queries made by the investor to the consultant? If the consultant do say that, oh, I'm so sorry, I've not been trained on this topic, well, it is the rights of the investor to call us, the manager, and report to us that our consultant are not able to provide enough information for them to make investment. Because to us, we are here to support the consultant. If they are not able to provide the info, come to us. We are available on our website. You can write in if you are the video shy person, or you can give us a call. We have our WhatsApp number, on marketing. And like Aini say, they can always, go to any fund managers portal and post the question. I mean, it's a general question. Most of us will know that, right? So that's where we come from.
Thanks, Aini. Thanks for the endorsement again. I think the key point that I want to just reiterate here is on the CPD requirements. One good thing is, during this entire MCO, FIMM has not lowered its standards for consultants. The very fact that you need 16 CPD points, we have still maintained that, and based on feedback from all the member companies, they also do not see the need to reduce it or to ask for a waiver. Reason being that they have a lot of internal training. So if you have managed to just now pick at Aime's registration status, you would see that she has 91 CPD points, which is 5.5 times more than required. Okay, and I believe that the 1,200 consultants that sign up for FIMMAC today, you did not need the 8 CPD points that we are giving you or so. I'm sure you got 10 times more than that already, and this is something for you to just learn. But anyway, this learning thing is an ongoing process. And I would like to then go towards Jawahar now. There was one question that came from Anonymous again, with regards to the SC. Has the SC taken any enforcement action for those that misled investors via social media? So there's no specific investment being mentioned here. I believe this is a general question. Maybe Jawahar, you would like to take this on?
Kaleon, I think suffice to say that there are several matters under investigation. So I am not at liberty to disclose the details, but suffice to say that, as I mentioned just now, that many of the scams that are being perpetrated now are being carried out through social media. And there are several matters currently where investigation is on foot, but I'm not at liberty to disclose. But yeah, that to the extent I can divulge. Yeah.
Thanks, Jawahar. And talking about social media, I think our members are well aware about this, but I thought it's good to share with the public also. We have an internal team that does social media surveillance. And we do look at Facebook, Instagram, TikToks, and so on, to find out what are the postings that consultants do. And we have been doing this for almost 1.5 years, and the result is quite good, where we're getting a lot of preventive controls here, whereby sometimes you get consultants over publicizing their credentials. You know, they call themselves investment gurus or financial planners, which they are not certified to do so. Then my team will definitely approach those member companies to ensure that they get this thing corrected. Okay, and of course, worst case scenario, if we have recalcitrant people who insist on marketing and distributing it this way, then the necessary action will be taken, and we will share it with the industry during our sharing session. And on that, I want to hard sell a bit. Come November 15, we will be having our regular industry briefing to all our members on the supervision findings that they have noted, so that we can help them in making the unit trust environment a safer place. I am aware we've got 11 minutes more, so allow me to just skim through the questions quickly, and we just try to finish off whatever questions that came in. There is a question from Noel, okay, who is not anonymous. And Noel asks, my UT agent invested in a fund that has been at a loss since it started. She did so without informing me about the fund choice. Is this normal? Okay, I'll quickly answer that. This is not normal, Noel. Okay, any consultant who invests for you and don't tell you where your money is not normal. So my advice is write to us at info@fimm.com.my with the details, and my legal team will look into it. Number two, there is this question from Anonymous. Is there any initiative made by FIMM to prevent churning of sales from consultants? Okay, this churning requirement is something that is stipulated, I believe, in a lot of regulatory requirements, and I believe in SE's rules as well. So this is something that there are ways of monitoring it, because the fund management company or the distributor will have to share their annual sales records and so on. Okay, but it is very subjective. It's not a straightforward mechanism where you can just say that, oh, if this company suddenly sales increased by 2 million or 3 million times this year, there's churning. So there is some work to do there, and as I want to just tumpang Jawahar's answer. I'm not at liberty to share this, but just put it in mind that the regulators are mindful about this. There are submissions by members and distributors in terms of their performances and sales records. So those things will be handled through the necessary channel and with the necessary facts and statistics. Is there any initiative made by FIMM to promote yourself, as not all investors know the existence of a website to check for the UT agent to avoid any scam? Thank you. I admit that we can do better. We have been trying our best to spread the word about FIMM. We've been trying to promote ourselves through a lot of channels. It is getting better. And we now, especially my corporate communication team, they've got very extensive media engagement plans. They are in the newspaper, they are in social media and so on to build it up. But I personally am mindful that being a semi-regulator, to attract masses of people to come in, to have millions of followers on Instagram, is not something that people are excited to do, because we don't have outfit of the day, we don't do very sexy stuff. So this is an area that we will continue to do, and I think in the next panel session, they will talk a bit more about scams and the work we do. So I don't want to steal the thunder from them. I believe they will also share with you. But with this FIMMAC, we hope it's an opportunity for us to get more people, more eyeballs to our sites and so on. So please feel free to follow us. We will continue to work at expanding our reach. Okay, there is one more question here on how to protect investors investing via EPF investor scheme. I will give a bit of answer here before I pass it to Aini and Aini, who definitely have funds on EPF's investor scheme. My understanding is, and I've seen it, and I'm also an investor myself, that there are already a lot of controls when you invest via EPF investor scheme. So if you go in through the EMIS or the EPPA, there are a lot of controls already. For example, on an annual basis, funds that make the cut, funds that are there they have to meet stringent performance requirements. So not necessarily you will see the 600 over funds that are in the market on that platform. Only funds with a certain proven statistics and performance records are put there. On top of that, this performance records is not a FIMM thing. It's endorsed by an independent party. So we have experts like Refinitiv, or formerly known as Lipper, that double checks and they verify it based on daily figures, you know. So all these things are statistically proven, okay? But like Aini and Aimee did mention, investing in a unit trust fund is a long-term process. You don't, with all these safety nets in place, let's be real, okay? You cannot expect your investment tomorrow you wake up and you see it grow by 100%, or tomorrow you wake up, you see it drop by 100%. So the volatility in a unit trust scheme is definitely a lot lower. So Aimee and Aini, maybe Aimee first. Anything you want to add on to that point about investing in a EPF members investment scheme?
I think you have covered it quite extensively, in the sense that yes, before any funds can be, on that platform, every asset manager has to ensure the consistency ratio is met and a lot of other requirements. So it's and also that for the fund to continue to be on EPF MIS platform, it has also got to continue to ensure performance, and it's not not performing or the bottom tier or bottom quartile, you will never make it there okay. So and to your point also, Kaleon, I think at the end of the day you must know your risk appetite. So all these funds are there as investment alternative investment options for you, okay, on top of your savings in the EPF. So you must know your risk appetite and know what you can stomach, okay, and be realistic in terms of returns as well, as what Kaleon said, okay. I mean, I just recently only deployed, in the past 2 months, I took out some money, of my EPF MIS and put into some of my, own Malaysian unit trust funds, and we did that short span of 2 months, it was up like 5-6%, very happy, but that is just that short term, but you can never annualize it and say, oh, it's going to be how many percent, no? So I guess be realistic, you have to be realistic, and if you're happy, you think with returns of about 6-7% per annum, or if you can take a little bit more risk, maybe 8-10% per annum, it's very doable, I would say, okay. And there are funds out there that can deliver those type of returns over the mid to long term. I think that's what we strive to do, okay. Yep.
Aimee has always given a very convincing answer, which I struggle to understand why her husband did not listen to her earlier. Okay, so Aini, you want to add on this?
Okay, I think both of you have conveyed and covered all the controls or how EPF try to manage the investment of their members. But I think most importantly is the investment decision, whether it's cash or even from your retirement fund from EPF, is the decision of the investor. EPF does not recommend any fund to you. I think from EPF perspective, they provide you the portal. They have now done very well. They provide you the portal so that it is your investment decision. There's no longer that you submit a form, must check thumbprint, and then it takes 10 days for maybe 10 days or even 2 weeks for your investment to be cleared because the thumbprint is not right, not proper. So those were the days. For us, is we had the opportunity to work very closely with EPF on the digital platform, and I think if like I mentioned, like I mentioned earlier, there are funds that are suspended by EPF, right? Because like I mentioned, every year this 3 years rolling period of performance is what EPF look at to ensure stability of the return, right? And these are information that is available in the EPF investor portal. So from EPF perspective is, I think they also look from where funds are suspended for more than 3 years. They approach fund managers. They ask, what is your plan to revive this fund for my members? So these are the safety net that EPF look at when their members go into investment of funds that they have approved. They do not, they do not say that I have approved this fund, so my members can invest in any of this fund. No, they don't do that. They monitor the performance on a yearly basis, and even now they are monitoring it on a daily basis, because we are supposed to upload our NAV pricing, all the transaction of the members into their portal. And EPF they have done a good job, and they have contributed to this capital market to support their members for better income, and then but I just like to quote kisah benar lah. My husband never, it's sad to say, he never believed in investment in EPF, in his EPF money. He just felt that whatever dividend that EPF give is sufficient for me, because he is also in our financial industry. So, I mean, when we are in our financial industry and being more than 30 years, I see the ups and downs. It also scares me. Sometimes it's like your car coming down from the cliff, plunging down from the cliff. So, and what, like Aini mentioned, the dividend given on an annual basis from our state provident fund. If we are happy with it, leave your money there. But if you think that you want to do, you want to get slightly better performance, you can try, you can ask for a good advice and get the right investment for yourself. However, if it doesn't suit you, you can always redeem, and you can always go back to your retirement saving.
Thanks, Aini. Okay, I also echo Aini and Aine's point. Credit to the EPF team for being very facilitating, helpful, allowing investors to diversify their investments based on their own choices. That would really help a lot. But I've been warned by the organizers, I've only have 1 minute left to sum up things. So maybe I'll start first. So apart from one moral of the story that I hear today is always listen to your wife, based on Aini and Aime's advice. So Jawahar and me should take note on that. I think we've learned a lot of things today about unit holders' rights, about consultants, about investors needing protection. So maybe I'll just give each of you 15 seconds each. If you could say just one sentence now to the audience, what would it be? So Jawahar, can you start first?
Yeah, as I've mentioned just now, based on the data that we have gathered and whatnot, specifically on scams and what have you, there is one message I would like to just let the investing public know, is that do not ever bank in money into anyone's individual bank account, even though that person is licensed or registered, or give cash. I think that if we do that, if the investors remember that, then we can eliminate a bulk of all the complaints that we receive with respect to possible scams.
Thanks, Jawahar. Aimee, besides listening to your wife, what would you tell the whole world?
Oh, you're talking to me, yeah?
Yes,
okay. I thought Aini.
Sorry.
Okay, I think as investors, I think you just need to do your homework. Cannot be lazy. There's no easy way out. Seek for more information from the consultants, from the managers, okay, on how, what the fund is all about. Get more information. I think with the information that you can make a more informed decision about your investments.
Sure. Thank you. Aini.
Okay. Okay, for me, I think the investor education is most important, and to me is they have the rights to ask their consultant for information to make the decision on investment. If they can't get enough information from the consultant, we, the unit trust managers, are here to help you. We are only a phone call away. You have your mobile handphone. Put that as maybe number one to dial when I have problem on investment. And again, to me is, I just want to give one quote that I came across recently from Charlie Munger, an American investor. He said this simple thing: opportunity comes to the prepared mind. So prepared minds mean person with enough information to make a decision to reap the opportunity on return in their investment. That's how I look at it.
Thank you. Okay, with that, a big thank you to my panelists, Jawahar, Aini, and Aimee. Thank you for giving a new dimension and more depth to these discussions we have talked about. Thank you to all the virtual audiences who have tuned in today. Appreciate your questions from Slido. It doesn't end here. You can still drop us emails at info@fimm.com.my, and I hope to see you all again in the near future. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye.